like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so get this. Jessica Alba and Cash Warren, they're calling it quits.
Wow, really?
Yeah, after 16 years of marriage.
You know, that's practically a lifetime by Hollywood standards.
Right. TMZ was the first to break the news, but we've also got this exclusive from People magazine. And the thing is, there doesn't seem to be any of that, typical drama.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems pretty amicable from what I've seen.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to deep dive into today. Like, what does an amicable separation after 16 years even look like? And what could lead to it?
It's a good question, especially when you consider how long they've been together.
So TMZ reported just yesterday, January 8th, that they're officially separated and heading for divorce. But then you've got People's Insider saying that they're determined to stay friends and that their focus is really on the kids.
Okay, that makes sense. Putting the kids first.
It does, but it also sounds almost too good to be true, right?
Right.
Like, is it really possible to be that chill about a split after so long?
Well, the People source also said that, if they are filing for divorce, it's not because of some big hateful drama.
Interesting.
So that does seem to point to a level of respect and understanding you don't always see.
It makes you wonder if there are any signs we all missed, right? Like, just a few months ago, in May, Alba posted this really sweet anniversary message.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that, talking about 16 years and being proud of their journey together.
Yeah.
And then wasn't there an interview in June where she talked about relationships?
Yes, with People.
Yeah.
She was saying how crucial it is for couples to make time for each other.
Huh. Trying to keep the spark alive. It's something we can all relate to.
Totally. And she even said, even when things are tough, she's better off with Warren in her life.
Wow. So it sounds like they were actively trying, acknowledging the struggles, but still choosing to stay committed.
It does.
Yeah.
So then what shifted?
I don't know. It's a tough one to figure out.
Yeah.
But it definitely raises this whole question about public image versus reality.
Oh, absolutely. Like, here we were seeing those perfect little snapshots on social media, assuming everything was great.
The picture-perfect family.
And clearly that wasn't the whole story.
And that's something, I think we can all relate to in some way.
Oh, for sure. Like, we all curate our online selves, putting our best foot forward.
Right. Showing those highlight reels. But how often does that really reflect what's going on behind the scenes?
Exactly. It definitely makes you think twice about those seemingly perfect couples you see online.
No doubt. It's a good reminder that, hey, everyone's got their own stuff going on, even the people who seem to have it all figured out. So if they were making the effort, celebrating those milestones, even saying those loving things publicly, then what led to this?
Yeah, what makes a couple who seemingly has it all figured out decide to separate?
That's where things get really interesting. And to understand that, we need to dig a little deeper. Go beyond just the surface level stuff.
I'm ready to dive in.
Me too. Let's do it. It's interesting what Alba said, about it being tough to keep the spark alive in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Like, you get that in the beginning, all the excitement and newness. But as time goes on, can you relate to that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Life just has a way of, piling on.
Right.
Careers, kids, all those responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's like that initial spark gets buried under everything else.
It happens. A lot of couples struggle with it. Relationship experts sometimes compare it to taking care of a garden.
A garden.
Yeah, like you can't just plant a seed and expect it to thrive without, tending to it, giving it attention. Relationships are kind of the same way.
I like that analogy. Okay. So how do you keep that garden going, so to speak? How do you make sure that spark doesn't fade completely?
Well, I think a big part of it is communication.
Okay, yeah.
Being open and honest with each other, like being able to truly listen to your partner's needs and expressing your own without judgment.
That makes sense.
But it takes work to create that kind of space, It has to be a conscious effort.
And speaking of conscious effort, remember how Alba mentioned that she and Warren would actually ask themselves a specific question?
Oh, yeah, what was it?
Would my life be better if we weren't together? And for a long time, the answer was no for both of them.
So they were actively reflecting on their relationship, making a choice to stay committed.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Which makes this whole separation even more, intriguing. Like, if they were both putting in the work, what changed?
It's tough to say for sure, But maybe it speaks to a larger truth about relationships. Like, even with all the love and effort in the world, sometimes people just grow in different directions.
So it's not necessarily about a lack of love or commitment, but more about recognizing when it's time to move on.
Could be. And maybe, just maybe, closing one chapter opens up new possibilities for growth and happiness for both people.
Individually and as co-parents, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Remember what the People Source emphasized.
That they're determined to stay friends, focused on their kids.
Right. Which is a big deal. It really suggests the level of maturity you don't always see. They're putting their kids first and trying to navigate this transition gracefully.
It's definitely a far cry from the public mudslinging we often see with these celebrity breakups. What can we learn from their approach, do you think?
Well, for one, it reminds us that relationships are never static. They change and evolve over time, and what works at one point might not work later on.
And that's okay.
It is. It's also a reminder that we shouldn't be comparing our relationships to what we see on social media or in the headlines. That's just a snapshot, not the whole picture.
Oh, totally, because you start thinking, well, if they can make it look so easy, why am I struggling?
Right, exactly. And that comparison trap can be so dangerous. It can lead to all sorts of self-doubt.
It's important to remember that everybody faces challenges, even the people who seem to have it all figured out.
It's that whole thing about public image versus reality again.
Yeah, we're all curating our online selves to some extent, showing the best, most polished version of our lives.
The highlight reel. We see the vacations, the parties, the happy moments, but we don't see the arguments, the compromises, the everyday struggles that are part of any relationship.
So how do we apply this to our own lives? Like, how can we cultivate a more, realistic view of relationships?
I think it starts with being aware of the stories we tell ourselves about other people's relationships.
Okay.
Like recognizing that we're only seeing a tiny part of the story and resisting the urge to compare our journey to theirs.
And focusing on what works for us and our partners. Communicating openly. And getting support when we need it.
Exactly. And remembering that even when a relationship ends, it's not necessarily a failure. It can be a chance for both people to grow.
And as we're seeing with Alba and Warren, it can also be a chance to redefine what a successful separation looks like.
Right. They're prioritizing their kids and showing that it's possible to go through a difficult transition with respect and understanding.
It's a powerful message. So we've talked about maintaining that spark, open communication, the possibility of an amicable split. We've even touched on how public image can be misleading. I think it's time to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question.
Yeah, let's give them something to really consider, something that builds on everything we've discussed today.
All right, so we've talked about Jessica Alba and Cash Warren's split and all the relationship stuff it brings up. But as we wrap things up here, I kind of want to leave you with one final thought.
Oh, okay. I'm all ears. Shoot.
So we keep hearing about keeping the spark alive, right? But what if, maybe that's not the be-all and end-all, what if instead of chasing that initial excitement, we focused on building something, more substantial?
That's an interesting way to look at it. I think a lot of people do get hung up on that, like trying to maintain that honeymoon phase forever.
Right. But as we were saying, relationships, they change, they evolve.
For sure. And if it's all built on, fleeting feelings, it's going to be pretty fragile when things get tough.
Yeah, exactly. Like a house built on sand isn't going to last when the storm hits.
Good point. But a house built on solid ground, that can withstand anything.
So instead of being obsessed with the spark, maybe we should focus on building that strong foundation.
Yeah.
Based on shared values, respect, genuinely caring for each other.
Exactly. Those are the things that create a lasting bond, a connection that can weather any storm. It's about nurturing that deeper stuff rather than always chasing those highs.
That makes a lot of sense because when you have that foundation, you can face challenges together. Yeah. You can communicate. You can support each other's growth, even if it means growing in different directions.
And maybe that's what we can learn from Jessica Alba and Cash Warren, even as they go their separate ways.
How so?
Well, they're still showing that commitment to co-parenting, maintaining that respectful relationship, for their kids.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best thing you can do is choose a path that lets both people thrive, even if those paths don't run parallel anymore.
So as you go about your day, think about this. What are you building in your relationships? Are you chasing those sparks? Or are you cultivating a love that's built to last?
It's a great question to think about. And with that, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into this whole story. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.